Mongabay Reports is a series that shares evergreen articles from Mongabay.com, read by myself, Mike Tatarski. This episode's feature article is From Scorpion Skewers to Cricket Flour, Bug Protein is Becoming Big Business, by Mike Tatarski on the 3rd of January, 2020. A brief note, this article is a collaboration between Mongabay and Atmos, additional reporting by Chan Muyong. It is also told from the first-person perspective of the author. Loc Ninh District, Vietnam. A spade strikes the bone-dry Cambodian dirt with a crunch, and the hunt is on. Hem Wai, a lanky, deeply tanned 53-year-old former soldier, has been collecting wild tarantulas and scorpions for most of his life. Wai knows this scruffy forest located 20 miles north of Siem Reap and the astonishing ruins of Angkor Wat like the back of his hand. Armed with his spade and a wood basket, he tracks down these arachnids considered terrifying by many in short sleeves and flip-flops. Once he spots a likely tarantula or scorpion hole, he digs out a scoop of chalky soil. If one is home, he grabs a twig to fish it out, snips its fangs or stinger, and drops it into the basket. The process is over in 30 seconds. I've been hunting for them since I was young, but only commercially for 5 or 6 years, he says in Khmer. It's now my main source of income. He supplies tarantulas and scorpions to Bug's Cafe, a restaurant located in Siem Reap, the menu of which focuses on insect-based dishes. A quick note on terminology. While tarantulas and scorpions are arachnids, not insects, I use the latter term for the sake of continuity. People like Wai and eateries like Bug's Cafe, which serves insect skewers, fried spring rolls stuffed with ants, and silkworm and taro croquettes, may seem strange to many Western readers, but they illustrate the importance of finding alternative ways to feed humanity amid climate change and concerns over the environmental and moral impacts of the meat industry. By 2050, the global population is expected to reach 10 billion people, according to a landmark 2013 report by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, entitled Edible Insects, Future Prospects for Food and Feed Security. This means that we will need to nearly double food production in the next 3 decades. The 200-page report is considered one of the most authoritative texts on the consumption of insects for food, also known as entomophagy. According to the FAO, insects from part of the traditional diets of at least 2 billion people in over 1,900 species have been used for food. The most common among them are beetles, caterpillars, bees, wasps, and ants. The health and environmental benefits of these creatures are huge. For example, since they are cold-blooded, crickets convert their food into energy far more efficiently than mammals. These insects require 12 times less feed than cattle, and they also produce no methane, a powerful greenhouse gas emitted in great amounts by ruminants like cows. The FAO estimates that livestock are responsible for 18% of global greenhouse gas emissions. While nutrient levels vary depending on the species, edible insects are generally high in fat, protein, vitamins, fiber, and mineral content. Mealworms, for example, have a similar unsaturated omega-3 and fatty acid content to fish, and equal protein, vitamin, and mineral counts to both fish and meat. In communities where insects are traditionally eaten, these benefits have been well known for generations. As night falls over the rice paddies outside Kampong Thom, about 100 miles southeast of Siem Reap, Chu Sopeak turns on the lights attached to his cricket traps. He has been trapping crickets here for 8 years. I saw my neighbor put up traps, and then they earned good money, so it encouraged me to do it, Sopiak says in Khmer, above the din of countless insects and toads welcoming the darkness. The traps are simple. A clear plastic sheet stretches between 2 upright wood poles, while a long fluorescent light hangs from a crosspost. On the ground, water fills a rectangular plastic container. Crickets drawn to the light either slam into the sheet and fall into the water, or simply jump into its reflection. It's seasonal, from May to July, and the rest of the time, I'm a motorbike taxi driver, Sopiak explains. I have 30 traps, and on a really good night, I collect up to 90 pounds of crickets. He traps 2 types, small black crickets and large red ones, the latter of which are less common, but can fetch nearly $4 per pound. Good money in a country where the per capita annual income is just under $1,400, according to the World Bank. Traps owned by farmers line the embankments surrounding these rice paddies, and it looks as though someone planted dozens of blue lightsabers in the ground. Within 30 minutes, crickets fill each of Sopiak's traps. Another 60 miles down National Route 6, I meet Tun Saran outside her 2-story home on a dirt road in Kampong Cham province. Half a dozen cats keep a wary eye on us as we talk. She has been working with tarantulas for 30 years, as a hunter when she was a teenager and now as a vendor. According to her, tarantulas do more than just provide vitamins and minerals. Tarantulas are known for having medicinal properties, Sauron says in Khmer. Older family members will make children with respiratory diseases eat tarantulas. It's believed to cure them. Y had relayed similar information explaining that people suffering from coughs consume tarantulas to alleviate their symptoms. Sauron sells the tarantulas, which she fries and tops with stir-fried garlic, to individual customers, like a woman waiting to bring 20 to her factory coworkers, at a bus stop outside the nearby town of Skuon. Here, other vendors do brisk business selling piles of fried crickets, mealworms, grasshoppers, ants, water bugs, and tarantulas to hungry travelers. The vast majority of insects used for human entomophagy globally, like those sold in Skuon, are caught in the wild. However, they face threats from overharvesting, pollution, wildfire, and habitat degradation. While climate change, the FAO notes, will impact these species in ways that aren't yet fully understood. Research published by Biological Conservation in 2019 found that 40% of insect species are already declining in numbers, while the rate of extinction is 8 times faster than that of other animal species. All of the insect collectors I spoke to relayed supply problems. Sopiek, for example, noted that he has caught fewer crickets over the last 3 years, although he attributed this to the fact that more people are engaging in cricket trapping. Sauron, meanwhile, said that the forest where she caught tarantulas in her youth was cleared for the construction of a factory, so now she sources them from a neighboring province. But environmental threats aren't the only issue holding entomophagy back from even broader international acceptance. Insects have long been considered food in countries throughout Asia, Africa, and Latin America, but in Europe, the United States, and Canada, they are often considered outright disgusting. Dr. Aaron Dawsey, author of Insects as Sustainable Food Ingredients and a vocal proponent of entomophagy, has encountered this problem firsthand in the US. A lot of people say, well, why would I eat insects anyway? But if you give them a nugget of information on the sustainability, that it's a new industry, they're efficient, it's a potential protein source in the future, then they kind of fill in the blanks, he says in a Skype call. If it's a conversation, it's better. I've been to science fairs, and when people just see a bowl of crickets, they say, ew. Meanwhile, at Bugs Cafe and Siem Reap, executive chef Seha Soon prepared a range of dishes for us to try. Having previously worked as a chef at the upmarket Sofitel Hotel in Phnom Penh, Cambodia's capital, Soon certainly knows his way around the kitchen. The meal was beautifully presented, although I refrained from eating the whole-fried scorpion. The ant egg rolls were delicious, as were the off-menu fried cricket and mealworm nuggets. Other than the slightly nutty aftertaste, there was little hint that these items had been cooked with an ingredient other than vertebrate protein. However, the challenges facing insect populations, combined with the deep-seated disgust many Westerners feel towards insects, may mean that whole wild-caught bugs aren't the way forward in the hunt for a global food alternative to mass-market protein sources. To see a more viable path, I traveled across the border to Vietnam in Loc Ninh district, a 3-hour drive north of rapidly growing Ho Chi Minh City. A company called Cricket One completed one of the world's largest cricket farms in April of 2019. Nam Zang, the co-founder and operations director, showed me around the 13,000 square foot facility, which sits on a red dirt road amid cassava tree stands. From the outside, the farm looks like a typical brick warehouse with a sheet metal roof, but inside are about 1,300 black bins containing the company's namesake product, crickets. We started 3 years ago, and I've worked in agriculture for 10 years, Nam says. We looked around and sustainability was the number one criterion. We saw the FAO report and researched the topic. We found companies in the US and Europe that are farming crickets for consumption, but I read that supply can't meet demand and prices there are very high. Nam and Bicky Nguyen, his business partner, decided to give the field a try. These are tropical insects, he explains. What if we farmed here and shipped to Europe and the US? We have a huge cost advantage thanks to a suitable climate, low labor costs, and lots of byproduct that we can use to feed the crickets. The crickets are hatched in a small dark room in one corner of the warehouse and are later moved into the ubiquitous black bins. Each batch is tracked by hatch date, and they are fed cassava leaves and branches from outside the warehouse, in addition to the specialized feed that Nam developed with an animal nutrition professor. The scale is immense. Each Jamaican field cricket grown at the farm weighs well under a gram, yet at full capacity, through harvests of nearly 10 million crickets, Cricket One can produce up to 8 tons per month. When we started, we knew we wanted to do it on an industrial scale because one day crickets will become an alternative to traditional meat, Nam says. The environmental advantages of cricket farming were immediately apparent. Farming a similar number of cows or pigs would require vast amounts of space, and according to the FAO, 26% of the world's ice-free land is already used for livestock grazing, while 33% of croplands are used for feed production. Crickets also produce minimal waste and no foul odors, even in the millions. Additionally, Nam says they require 8,000 times less water than cattle. Cricket One's production model involves 9 satellite farms, in addition to the main warehouse. Once the satellite farms are taken into account, nearly 18 million crickets are harvested monthly in this one tiny corner of Vietnam. These smaller farms are family-run and dotted around the surrounding countryside. We visited one owned by Zhang Thi Thang Tao, a public school teacher, and her husband, Gwen Van Tien. They maintain around 200 bins in a shed behind their house on a small plot of land, and they produce up to 1 ton of crickets per month. Nam and his team have been working with Tao and Tien for about a year. The company trained them to raise crickets while also providing all the necessary equipment and cricket eggs to get started. Tao only makes about $250 a month from her salary as a teacher, hardly enough to get by while sending her oldest child to high school. By selling harvested crickets back to Cricket One, the family can make almost $2,000 in a good month. Once the crickets are harvested, a process that occurs about 6 weeks after they hatch, they are sent to Cricket One's nearby factory, where they are turned into powder, creating a far different product than the wild-caught insects in Cambodia. Visually, cricket powder is more appealing to Western consumers than whole crickets. It looks like brown baking flour, and it can be used in similar ways. The Cricket Hop Company, run by 2 chefs based in Ho Chi Minh City, launched their cricket flour on Amazon in the UK for $10 per 100-gram bag. Using cricket powder sourced from Cricket One, their flour contains over 70% protein and is gluten-free and lactose-free. Their website features a number of recipes involving cricket powder, from smoothies and cookies to Spanish eggs with chorizo and Thai green vegetable curry with glass noodles. I used their product mixed with regular flour to make fried goat cheese balls, and the result was delicious, with no discernible cricket taste. With the right packaging, it's easy to imagine seeing this product on the shelves of your local Whole Foods or Publix, which bodes well for its future appeal. And since the U.S. Food and Drug Administration doesn't allow whole wild-caught insects to be imported for human consumption, this is the most obvious way to enter the American market. Amid the low hum of millions of crickets chirping, Nam expresses the utmost confidence in the role of crickets in the future of human diets, and not only because of their low environmental cost. They contain a lot of protein and a lot of trace minerals like iron, zinc, and manganese, he says. 2 billion people in the world lack these minerals. If we can include this in food for pregnant women, we can solve huge problems, and we can make it much more affordable than beef or chicken. I think the future of crickets solving the protein and mineral problem is there, so it's more about the perception problem right now. While the problem of perception for those scorpions hunted by Y and the tarantulas Sauron sells would be difficult to address, government regulations and environmental threats may be the primary factors preventing them from becoming food staples in the West. Nevertheless, the future appears bright for the countless crickets being raised in the tropical heat of southern Vietnam. This has been a special Mongabay audio report, original article by Michael Tatarski. I am your reader, Mike DiGirolamo. Special projects like this are made possible by our Patreon supporters, so please consider becoming a monthly sponsor via our Patreon page at patreon.com/Mongabay. As little as $1 per month will help us offset the production costs and hosting fees to help us make more content like this. Keep up with all of Mongabay's news from Nature's Frontline at mongabay.com. Get updates from Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, where our handle is @Mongabay. Thanks for listening.